Okay, this is a video to teach you how to do one method of a connecting stitch while working in the round with a hook with a cable and a stopper on it. And just a note for everybody that this is just one version of how to work in the round. It is my favorite version, and I hope that you enjoy working it as much as I do. So what I've done here is I've made a foundation row with 20 stitches. So I've worked 20 chains and I've picked up 19 loops on the hook, which gives me 20. Okay, now I'm going to turn this into an in the round, which doesn't seem possible at the moment, but you'll see why in a minute. So I'm going to connect this end to this end using the cable. Now you can do this on any length of stitches. So you could have 100 stitches or 500, or in this case I have 20. Now what I'm doing is I've just slid about half of the stitches off my hook and I'm going to pull the cable through it like so. Okay, and then I'm going to slide these back up to my hook here. Okay, so hopefully this doesn't get all twisted and I can show you how this works. And I've made a mess of that. Okay, here we go. A bit tricky to get going. All right, so you want to make sure that there's no twists in your chain. Now, which would have looked a little bit awkward there. I actually did have a twist in my chain. I had to undo it. Okay, so you can see that I've got those loops just extended on the cable here and there's no kinks in that chain along the bottom. Now what we want to do is we want to bring the end of the stitches, so the very first stitch, up here in a loop. Okay, can you see that? Turning it into a circle. All right, now these, what I've got here, this is the front of the stitches. Now I'm going to first of all, make sure that my yarn is in the right spot. Okay, so I've got my working yarn behind it. I'm going to pop my hook through the back of the first two loops of the row. I'm going to do that again. Okay, pop my hook through the first two loops of the row and I'm exiting the hook at the back of the work. I pick up my yarn and I draw that loop through both of those two loops that I just picked up. And that's it. That is the connecting stitch. Now, this connecting stitch was taught to me through another YouTube video made by a lovely man called Ben Burchall. So I just want to shout out to him. I don't believe he invented it. Please correct me if I'm wrong. It's just one of those techniques that you just learn over time. So I'm going to complete the rest of the return pass, okay, so which is yarn over, pull through 2 until we only have one loop left on the hook. Now it is looking a little bit awkward. Okay, look, just before I was about to keep talking then, I've got one loop on my hook. I need to finish the return pass, so I'm going to pull that cable through that hook. Okay, so now they're all on the cable. Then I'm going to pull the cable back through so that my loops go back on my hook. Okay, and then complete the return pass. I'm going to show you how to do it on the next row as well, and I'm going to show you actually working this round as well. But I wanted to show you joining on the foundation row, which, look, you don't have to join on the foundation row. You can sew it up later if you like, but I've been experimenting with this and it works just as well. Okay, so if I pull this apart, so pretend that this is a rigid row that isn't joined on the hook. Okay, so here's our first stitch and this is our edge stitch back here, and that connecting stitch is joining the two parts together. So I'm going to work this whole round now. There'll be 20 loops. So I've got one on my hook already, and I'm just going to work simple stitch all the way around, and I will have to pause partway through this round to pull the cable through the stitches. Just wanted to demonstrate the whole thing so that you can see an effective use of the cable, even on something kind of awkward like this. This technique is much easier on something bigger like a hat or a cowl, but you can equally use it on something small like this. Okay, so I can't really pick up any more stitches, so I'm going to pull that cable through and simply keep working. Just make sure that you don't skip a vertical bar in the middle. Work nice and slowly if you're not sure. There's no hurry. Crochet should be enjoyed and not rushed if you don't want to. Okay, now I've picked up 19. Don't forget the last edge stitch. Now that we're working in the round, we can pick up the edge stitch just like a simple stitch. You don't need to pick up the front and the back like you normally would on a straight piece of crochet. Okay, so that's my edge stitch there. All right, here's my stopper, and see there's those first 2 loops. So remember, we're doing exactly the same thing as we did on that foundation row. So this is what I would call a connecting stitch in my patterns, the Ben Burchall method. Okay, and I've put my hook through the first 2 loops. And I'm just going to show that one more time so it's super, super clear. So through the first 2 loops, and it's coming out of the back of the work, not the front. So here it is out the front with the cable in behind. We don't want to do that. We want it out the back. Okay, yarn over, and we pull it through the 2 loops that we just picked up. You can give it a little tug if you want to, but there's not really a great need for it. And continue the return pass. So yarn over, pull through 2 until we get to the very end. Need to pull that cable through. And the hook through. Okay, and for anyone wondering, I often get these questions on my videos. This hook is a catch hook, so CATCH_hooks on Instagram. Full disclosure, this is my husband who makes them. A bit of a tag team. Okay, and they fit chalgoo cables. They fit all of the chalgoo cables. This is just a clear one, so small. Okay, get this hook out of the way. And I'm just going to pop a marker in here so you can see it. It's in my live loop. Okay, so there we've got our in the round. And we use that exact same connecting stitch method all the way up. Okay, and there it is there. Now I'm just going to reach behind me and grab a piece of crochet that's had that connecting stitch in it so that you can see how it looks normally when it's done. Okay, this is a cowl using exactly the same method. Now this is all in simple stitch except for these bobbles. Okay, can you see how just under my finger here there's 2 loops that are a little bit closer together than those 2? That's the connecting stitch in there. Now this method of doing a connecting stitch doesn't have a jog in it. So there are some connecting stitch methods that will do this. So it will bring the row, the connecting stitch above what you're connecting it to, just so, okay. And that's the back. It's not obvious, but it is a little bit different to where there's no connecting stitch. And you really can disguise it so much that on this one here, because I've done little ridges in between, it's actually really tricky to find where the connecting stitch is. I haven't found it yet. I'm still looking. Let's see if I can find it on here. Oh, there it is. Okay, so on here, my connecting stitch is along this row here. So you can incorporate it in the actual stitch pattern that you're making, and it's hard to tell the difference. So that's why I like this Ben Burchall method of making a connecting stitch. I hope you enjoy it too. See ya.